Alright, we're finally gonna address the elephant in the room. That's all you're getting out of me.
Not only did I lose you, I lost myself too.
So the Syrian civil war is going down, and it's March 30th, 2017. Coalition forces in northern Syria, predominantly American and Iraqi forces, are aiding the main Kurdish army, known as the Syrian Democratic Forces, and are components of the YPG and the YPJ, and kicking IS out of their territory lying east of the Euphrates River, pushing in on the city of Tabqa next to Lake Assad, and advancing on IS's provincial capital in Syria of Raqqa. The Kurds, under an ideology of democratic confederalism, which, when stripped down, is essentially just anarcho-communism, thrown in with extra doses of feminism, ecology, whatever else fits the material conditions of the area, have made significant progress with the help of foreign units, not just the coalition forces, but along with international anarchists and their leftist volunteers. These volunteers are organized into both the YPG International Battalion and the International Freedom Battalions, or the IFB, comprising of Turks, Spaniards, Greeks, Brits, Irish, Frenchmen, Americans, and whoever else wanted to join the cause. Naturally, if one wanted to volunteer for such a position, you would have joined this group. But what if you just didn't? This leads us to the story of the International Revolutionary People's Guerrilla Forces, what a mouthful, or the IRPGF, and their subunit, the Queer Insurrection Liberation Army, or TQILA. The IRPGF announced formation on a Twitter post, and the foundation of the TQILA as a subgroup was also announced by the group in July of that year. This was met with general praise from online lefties. The idea of a group of progressive queers fighting against a group like IS obviously garnered attention. The YPJ did the same as Westerners praised the idea of women fighting against the caliphate, even though they didn't understand the YPJ's ideology to its fullest extent. That's just how the news works, really. And the IRPGF, and especially the TQILA, were no exception. But immediate skepticism soon followed. The idea of Western queers showing up to a Middle Eastern country, despite how respectful they claim to be, naturally rubbed some people off the wrong way. And most of the skepticism came from, I don't know, the YPG itself, along with the SDF as a whole, with the head office of media and information, Mustafa Bali, stating, "We, the SDF, while emphasizing our deep respect for human rights, including the rights of homosexuals, we deny the formation of such a battalion within the framework of our forces," end quote. Surprisingly, some random Westerners just posing for a photo, which they then released more versions of it to prove that it was actually real, just chilling in an abandoned city, wasn't exactly proof of an actual militant formation. And as mentioned before, despite the fact that it did indeed exist, the SDF was convinced that no such unit existed, and it took itself pledging allegiance to the IFB for them to actually acknowledge their presence. So already, we have a bit of an issue with the group. It seems kind-hearted, but there's questions about its ideology and its members' true motivation for joining up in Rojava's revolution, which I'll get into later. But whatever, things are mostly sorted out now anyways. The TQILA had about 20 or so people in it, and there's no concrete numbers out there for actual membership for the unit, so let's just put it around 50 for the IRPGF. So just how are these fires going to serve the IFB? Not good. Obviously, not many articles exist on the group, as it's pretty niche, but first-hand accounts do exist. And I'll be taking YPG veteran Kareem Francesi's recent thread as a source for this. He's a pretty good Twitter account, by the way, you should go follow him. According to Kareem, the IRPGF never actually had any kind of operational importance. They were delegated by the IFB to coast along with some other YPG fighters, where they had no apparent knowledge of the Kurdish or Arabic languages, customs, culture, or even just the environment of the conflict they were fighting in. None of them had any serious military training outside of special training in the bushes of Greece, whatever that meant, and expected to be granted full autonomy within the chain of command on first arrival. Naturally, the YPG didn't really like them, and the IRPGF had to attach itself onto the TIKKO, or the Communist Party of Turkey, Marxist-Leninist armed wing in Rojava. So great, we have Maoist and queer anarchists working together, but whatever, just roll with it. It makes the numbers look prettier on paper anyways, and it also granted the TKKO more legitimacy as an international group. Both of them would, as I mentioned before, be absorbed into the IFB, who was made up predominantly of Turkish nationals. They then proceed to goon around in Tabqa for a bit and then fight in Raqqa before dissolving after learning that having a group of people who don't know how to fight people who know how to fight might be a little bit of a liability. The TQILA in particular had fought so badly before they were integrated into the IFB that the YPG and some of the more competent members of the IRPGF had to step in and tell them what to do halfway through the fighting, which obviously just ended up putting more people in danger. And the YPG International Battalion was the one doing most of the work anyways inside the city, so eventually the TQILA would be booted out of the city of Raqqa entirely. And so, on the 24th of September 2018, the group announced its dissolution. It was then absorbed in the Turkish-majority Anarchist Struggle organization, which was also ended up being annexed into the IFB. Oh my lord. But wait, we're not done yet. The American Communist Party is a political splinter of the Communist Party for the United States of America. The ACP was tired of CPUSA for a lot of reasons. Not only are they the normal kind of retarded, they also have one of the grandest falls in history. And the ACP decided to combat this with fascism. I guess, bro. The party is incredibly campus, racked with scandals, just has a lot of shady stuff to its both surface and depth levels. Just watch this video if you want a better explanation, to be honest. Anyways, they have this guy in a small township position in Vermont known as Christopher Hilleli, and it turns out that he was one of the driving forces behind the founding of the TQILA, a group which he founded by embezzling thousands of dollars from the industrial workers of the world, or the IWW, to do so, where he then proceeded to hide from punishment by pledging to stay in Rojava and fight IS for a 4-year period. He stayed for less than 1 year before pretending to be hiding in Greece, when in reality he was giving college lectures back in the States. In the end, everyone who joined this group was all fools, swindled by a man who wanted to consolidate power within the left for himself, and who had gotten multiple people, let's be real, probably, not even probably, definitely killed for what he did. And all because, oh, I don't know, maybe instead of making a grassroots effort, he wanted to just live his little fancy as a queer superhero and find the jihadis. And hey, look where that got us! Are you happy? You're real happy! Why do I make content?
Path of least resistance leads to cemetery code. Leads to cemetery code.
I'm going completely off script for this one. I don't mean to shame anyone that, volunteered for Rojava, even if the revolution was lost. If anything, I actually hold a deep sect of respect for them, but, this just wasn't it. If anything, the TQILA, and to a very slightly lesser extent, the IRPGF, I can't remember the acronym, gosh, it's long. It's, instead of, like an actual, useful means of establishing anarchism and promoting, these ideas of, doing things like mutual aid, stuff like that. It was just lifestylists who thought that, campaigning on, queer anarchism and all this kind of things would lead to social change. It really wouldn't. In my opinion, if you want to advocate for anarchism, queer anarchism, or, all these other offshoots really aren't the way. If you want to actually build anarchism and, genuinely create a society where people, including queer people, and, all people can be free, you have to just advocate for anarchism. It's inherent to it. Of course, past movements have been flawed, such as Anarchist Catalonia obviously had issues with, women in its revolution, but those have been mostly fixed by modern anarchists, modern social anarchists, modern platformists, syndicalists, communalists, democratic confederalists. Really, this was just a very misguided venture by people with good intentions, in my opinion. If they really were going to volunteer, I would say just get some basic combat training first, and then just join any of the international brigades that Rojava already had made that were easy to join and were actually working and doing their jobs. That's basically all I have to say for this. I'm very tired, and I'm gonna sleep now. Happy Pride Month, people. Bye-bye.